We are in an age of constant distraction. Now, what do you mean by that? Today, the conditioning, the gradual conditioning we are going through the because of social media, digital uh, world, and the third thing is isolated humans, unsocial. In reality, we become unsocial. We have disconnected, totally disconnected. All the emotional bonding, everything has been cut off with all near and dear ones. The slow poisoning of the slow digital poisoning, and the trap the social media has laid. We have unknowingly slipped into that, and now the brain is constantly, due to the lack of emotional bonding, emotional physical connections with people, friends and relatives. We are now lacking those biochemistry, which uh, made people live in a community. So, due to this loneliness and isolation, which has unknowingly happened due to the invasion of the digital world and the social media, there is a connection which is now happened to the screen. So now there is a tendency to be constantly seeking some kind of input to the brain. Like there was television, and now we have this mobile phone which has got multiple sources of media inputs, and also communication, digital communication from actual communication, which was actually good, needed for the humans. But today we are with a digital communication with unknown people, and we have infinite amount of content available through a single device. So we are actually now constantly looking for those distractions. So there is a urge which is developed to be constantly distracted. So we have to be constantly distracted. We cannot rest. We cannot for a moment also be without, due to this addiction, due to this digital addiction and social isolation, the actual social isolation. There is a constant need to feed your brain with something. So there is a constant search for this thing which I'm calling distraction. So today, due to this social change, social and technological rapid social and technological change, which is actually is like a disease, cancer. It's like a cancer. Has led us to a situation where we are looking for distractions. Actually, these are all distractions. We don't know what we want, and we are constantly feeding our brain, constantly feeding our brain. It is like stressful snacking. We do a stressful snacking when we are sitting and have nothing else to do. We tend to snack. So there is a stressful snacking of not physical food, but there is a stressful snacking of content. So the minds have become, what I'm trying to bring out is that instead of a calm mind, peaceful mind, we are forcing distractions into our mind. We want distractions in our mind, and the mind becomes more and more unstable. And the result of this constant feeding of distractions is basically turning our mind into a very unstable being. So the mind becomes very, very unstable because it is just so restless that it cannot sit for a moment, and it needs some feed. It has cut off what it was supposed to be fed with, and now it is being fed with something which is like an addiction now. Because when you are socially isolated, when you are actually so lonely from your community, from your families and friends, then you are like in a cage. You have been put into a digital cage. So you have actually, from a free person in a community with all the support, social support, you are now insecure because you're cut off all your social ties actually. So now you are a lonely, insecure person who's constantly brain needs to be activated with something what that nobody knows. So we are constantly feeding our brain. So we are constantly looking for distraction, because now if you don't get those distractions, your mind will be restless, because it's reached a position of insecurity. It's reached a position of lack of social support. It has reached a position of being in a community which the human is supposed to be. It is cut off, chopped off, because due to various tendencies where this materialistic social world, as social media or the consumer, the capitalist world, has imposed on us, conditioned and manipulated us, the society. So we have lost our original values, human values, and we have moved towards materialistic values. So there's a total radical shift from human values to materialistic values, and that has been completely manipulated through social media and digital content. So we have been socially isolated. So humans have become like machines now. We are no more like humans. We have, if you don't have the human values, you can't call yourself as humans. Now you become inhuman. So we have actually become inhuman actually. So we are now constantly looking for distractions. So if you talk of meditation, at the same time because we have realized that we are unstable, we realize there's something gone wrong with us. The mind is completely restless. So what do? So you are seeking some solution, but you're not realizing how you reach there. So if you realize this, you can re-engineer yourself. You can recondition yourself. But if you don't realize, you're seeking for some solution in the world, like meditation and yoga and healing and Reiki and all kind of businesses emerging even out of this, because there is a need. People are having mental health issues, so there is a need. So there's a business generating. So there is a capitalism which is coming out of even this, because when there is a demand, there is a supply for to meet that demand. Whether that supply is meeting that demand or not, that's a different issue. So whatever is being provided to the people who are now seeking, because they are in a trap. They are in a trap and they just don't know what's happened to them. So they are like like their ass is on fire actually. Their ass is on fire and they just don't know what's causing the fire and how to extinguish the fire. So I'm saying ass is on fire, but the mind is on fire. The mind is on fire, and they just don't know. They can't live without the fire. They got used to that fire, but they know that fire is not good. So they're seeking some answer, solution to that, and they think meditation. But you have got addicted to distraction. So how can you meditate? Because this distraction has become a natural addiction for you unknowingly. So now it's a very complicated situation we are in, and we have to really see what went wrong, and it's very difficult, because I don't think anybody will tell what went wrong and where are we and what needs to be done. So we are heading towards a collapse of the civilization. Because if the people in a country or in a community have become mentally unstable and unhealthy, so that country is doomed. And if the countries are doomed, ultimately there'll be wars and fighting at all levels. And obviously, finally, the whole civilization will collapse, because there'll be a war and a bigger war, probably a world war. So there is a tendency to be entering into a world war. Whether it will happen, when will it happen? But I mean, the way the world is moving, it looks that there is a possibility of getting into a world war. All the signs are of entering into a world war. But will that happen or not? That we don't know. Time will only tell. But there are a lot of prophecies and prediction. But the state which the world, the people are in, is very, very unstable. I don't think in the previous decades or centuries there were problems. There were a lot of social problems. There were all kind of problems. But the communities were not. The communities were well connected. There's loneliness was not there. Social isolation was not there. The humans were not. They were still having human values despite all challenges they face. But today also we have challenges. But the challenges have actually the main challenge is that we have lost the human values. So this is a very different kind of challenge we are in today's world.